Hello, my name's Fran Sands and welcome to myboxingcoach.com. One of my recent videos, I told a little story about one of my experiences in boxing as a boxer, and quite a few people actually, seem to want me to go on and tell one or two more stories. So I've had a little think about it, and I've decided to give it a go. But look, one of the principles I've always had when I've produced videos for YouTube is that they are of use. It's not just a platform. Look, I don't want to get on YouTube and just start giving it that, talking away, not saying much, just filling the airwaves with my thoughts. Look, there's enough people out there doing that. What I produce has to be helpful to you and to others. So, let me know at the end of this whether it is indeed helpful. So let's get on. What I want to talk about is flow, finding flow. And flow isn't the name of a woman who lives down the street. Flow, I suppose in sporting terms, you call it being in the zone, but you can encounter flow in any sort of activity that you do. I'm pretty sure we've all encountered it. You can be mowing the lawn, painting a wall, writing a letter, typing a letter, doing schoolwork, and you get to a point, it can happen to people working on a factory line, sweeping the streets, just as easily as it can happen to a surgeon performing a complex surgical intervention. But it's that thing of just being in the zone and just getting the job done and losing yourself in a task, losing yourself in an undertaking. It's hugely important from a performance point of view, but it's also really important just from a well-being point of view. Experiencing flow gives you a great sense of satisfaction, of gratification, of sense of relaxation, if you like. Okay, so I think it's really important, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about one of the nights of my boxing career, probably I think the best performance I ever managed to squeeze out of myself in my sort of 60 fights as an amateur boxer. It really, and I found flow. I got in the zone, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about that. So it was sort of November 1990. I had a fight scheduled. It was a Friday night. I had a fight lined up in Carlisle, which is a city in the north of England. So it's 115 miles away from where I live in the city of Liverpool. So we're talking a 230-mile round trip, 2 hours each way, right in the far north of Colombia, just near Hadrian's Wall, not far from the border with Scotland. And I only knew the name of the kid that was boxing, not an unusual, you never really knew. I was at a level by then, this is into my sort of latter end of, so certainly 50 fights plus I'd had by now. So you're an open class, you fight all comers basically, the record doesn't matter how many fights they've had, that's all irrelevant. All that matters is that you're within the weight of each other. And so we headed up there, and I went up there with two of my coaches, Graham and Colin, and they were brilliant coaches, two very different characters. Graham, an amazing sort of personal trainer, motivational fitness coach. Colin, a boxing encyclopedia, brilliant boxing mind, great strategist and tactician. And we headed up there in Graham's Golf GTI, VW Golf GTI. This is 1990, and it was a brilliant trip up there. We had a rave music, so sort of house music, I guess, garage from stateside, was just becoming really big in the UK, and Graham had a mixtape on, so we had that blasting really loud, and we had a real laugh on the way up there, really sort of, lots of humour, good jokes, taking the mick out of each other a bit. So, yeah, keep it light-hearted. But we get to the end of our journey, and we arrived at the venue, and go in, get weighed in, game face on by now. And let's face facts, when I walked into the venue, the nerves hit. In fact, let's be more clear than that. The fear hit. It's something I have a great deal of respect for Mike Tyson for. And he was one of the few boxers who talked openly about fear and the fear he experienced. And look, it isn't necessarily the fear of getting hit or getting hurt. Actually, it's the fear of failure. It's the fear of, but look, that's a whole different video. Bottom line is, you know, what in, primed, nerves hit. Gets weighed in about 8 o'clock, all good, fights on. So I'm not going to be getting in the ring till about 10:30. So again, we sit down, we have a rest, and Colin managed to find this little room. It was like it was a coat cupboard, basically, about 10 feet long, about 5 feet wide. Turns out to be perfect. So we get in there, and probably an hour ahead of the fight now, we begin our physical warm-up. Slowly, gradual, slow burn warm-up. I don't want to talk too much about the physical warm-up. I mean, the one thing I will say is, interestingly, the mindset. If a boxer's really well prepared, so if every single training session has been hit, every single run has been hit, if sparring's gone well, if everything has clicked, if you've worked like a Trojan all the way up to the fight, the warm-up, a lot of the time I have to control boxers during the warm-up. It's if a boxer's got any nagging doubts, again, the fragility of the boxer's mind in many ways, that's another video. But if a boxer's got any doubts, if they missed the odd morning run or missed a training session or two in the lead up to the fight, sometimes they won't want to do a heavy physical warm-up because they'll feel like they're leaving, they're using energy that they should be using in the ring. But the fighter that's ready chews through the warm-up. On this night I was ready, everything had gone perfectly well. It's not really the physical warm-up I want to talk to you about. It was the psychological preparation that Colin put me through. It was brilliant. It was just like everything was so focused. Lots of positive visualisation. How we were going to control the fight from the outset. It didn't matter what the opponent brought to the ring. We were going to win. We were going to dominate. We were going to make the night ours. And one of the things that really sort of stuck in my mind, he turned around and said, look, we haven't driven 250-mile round trip to play the game. All that, exact words, all that shit about, you know, it's not winning, it's about how you play the game. Screw that, it's about winning. We've come here to win. We're not leaving here without a win. We haven't done this 4-hour round trip, 200 odd miles, to come here and play the game. By the time I got into the ring, I was so 100% focused. The venue was packed out. There must have been, I don't know, 250, 300 people there. And gets in the ring, my opponent, full of tattoos. This is back in the day when, you know, I didn't really see many people with tattoos back then. There were parts of the United Kingdom where people had lots of tattoos. Liverpool wasn't really, my home city wasn't really a big tattoo city. It is now. Everyone's got tattoos. The women have got more tattoos than the men nowadays. On another night, this may have been a little bit disconcerting for me, this sort of, all these, not tonight though. Interestingly, he had a head guard on. Now, England was the last country to adopt head guards. I think it was 1990. But we had a one-season overlap where you could wear a head guard or not. At that time, I didn't even wear head guards for sparring. We just didn't wear them. It was just, you know, so I wasn't wearing a head guard, but my opponent did have a head guard on. And this is a hometown boxer I'm facing here. This guy is the local favourite, you know. And they read my name out, the MC read my name out. And I got it felt like about a dozen people sort of give it one of them. It was a very, it was not riven with enthusiasm, let's just put it that way. They read his name out and the roof lifted off the place. Yeah, he's hell of a welcome he got. And, you know, I smiled. It made me feel great. There's nothing quite like, I think, you know, there's only 3 of us went up there. It's a really strong position to be in, to just be the guy rolling into town, ready to hand out a beating, and then you're going to roll right back out again. There's a strength in being the underdog. There's a strength in being the loner, the guy who has no support and who just rocks up and does the business. And I felt that this night. It's really positive. So we go out for the first round, and it was I just felt brilliant. Everything I was doing was working. High volume of punches, precise, accurate, taking very few in return. just absolutely clicked. It was probably one of the most one-sided rounds of boxing I've ever been involved in. Certainly that went my way. Goes back to the corner, sits down, everything calm, serene, mellow, sitting there breathing. Okay, Franny, more of the same. Don't change anything. Why would we? Next minute, ooh, the crowd all, ooh. And as I look to the left of Colin, sort of head guard bouncing across the ring. So this is the opponent's team, right, take that off. That was clearly the reason that you've just, lost that first round. The head guard, dreadful. It's gone now. You can go out and you can do what you do. I went out and handed out exactly the same type of hide in the second round as the first. The interesting thing, whenever a boxer's taken a really bad beating or has clearly lost a round, you can almost guarantee that for the first 20 seconds of the next round, they'll come out like a steam train and try and knock you out cold. So weathered that particular storm. We knew that was coming, dealt with that, and went out and pasted them again in the second round. And the same with the third, and one of the really profound sort of memories, one of the memories that really sticks with me. So we're coming towards the end of the third round. My back's to the ropes and the opponent rushes in, and I managed to unleash a 3-shot combo, so left, right, left hook, and pivoted away. And he'd overcommitted, capital sin at any level of boxing, especially at the level we were at. And he overcommitted and went straight on, just teetered on the middle rope of the ring. Bout ends, clear, a foregone conclusion. The result, it wasn't even close, to be honest with you. Not by any stretch of anyone's imagination. But something quite heartwarming at the end, really, when my name got read out as the victor, my hand got lifted up. This is a working man's club. These are, there was never any booing before the fight. These are working class, good, honourable people, That's amateur boxing. People don't boo. But I just got this lovely warm round of applause. They'd obviously he was their lads that had been beaten, but it just happened to be by a better boxer on the night. We both gave a good account of ourselves. He certainly worked hard, so did I. It was a well-skilled bout, and it was all action as well. We threw lots of shots. So it was really nice to receive that round of applause. So yeah, that was my experience of finding flow. But look, some tips here. Look, whenever you experience that feeling of flow, regardless of what you're doing, have a think about what went on, what led up to it, that perfect performance or that perfect notion or activity, and then you can repeat it. So for me, okay, I won't go on a 2-hour drive. Couldn't go on a 2-hour drive before every fight from then on, but listen to that type of music. Have that sort of sequence of only really switching on for the fight an hour before. That's when we really go into our fight phase. That preparation, that psychological preparation, making that perfect. So yeah, just make notes of flow, and that way you're more likely to be able to recreate it. Don't try and force it. It's just one of them things that, preparation is everything. So if you can make the preparations great, then you are much more likely to have a great outcome. So do the training sessions, get all of that right. And if you're just in this for fitness, the same principles apply to you. If you want a great training session, take notice of what you do in the few hours before it. Make it great, but try and identify when you've really got in the zone and you've worked really well, what led to that, and that way it's a repeatable pattern. Then you're going to be able to repeat that much more often and get into flow. Okay, look, again, I just want to reiterate, I don't want to come onto YouTube and just talk. If it's not useful, I don't want to do it. I don't want to add to the millions of hours of people just giving it loads of chatting, I want stuff to be useful. Sign up to the Beginner Boxer Toolkit, a free ebook, 65 pages, packed with lots of information about how to get your journey underway and how to re-guide your boxing journey designed for people who are boxing purely for fitness or even competition as well. Okay, thank you very much. My name is Franz Sands, and this is myboxingcoach.com.